Today we're going to talk about dress forms and mannequins and why a good dress form can be a great tool for your sewing studio. Stick around to the end of this video where I will share with you my review of the Bootstrap Fashion dress form cover and a special link for you to try one yourself. Just a quick disclaimer, I did not go to fashion school, and if I make any kind of errors in terminology, I would sincerely appreciate you giving me a gentle clarification in the comments, and I'll update the video, and thank you so much in advance. Okay, here we are with my partners in crime, and I've got a little bit of a collection here, but it wasn't always this way. I started sewing about 13 years ago now, and within a year or two it became obvious that if I wanted to improve my sewing, a dress form would be a great strategy. Why do we need one? Well, when we're sewing our garments, we have our pattern, usually a pattern piece, then we cut out a pattern onto fabric and we will sew it up on the sewing machine, and then we'll try it on and we'll see how it fits, right? That's usually how we get started. Raise your hand if you have sewn garments that were not wearable because they didn't fit you the way you hoped they did. Enter the dress form. A dress form is obviously a replica of the body that you can drape with, and you can lay your pattern pieces on in advance to see how they will fit you. And you can make adjustments to that before you start sewing, and you're going to have a greater result in the finished product. Now, a dress form and a mannequin, sometimes the terms are used interchangeably, but to my knowledge, there's a little bit of difference between them. I do see fashion instructors use the term dress form mannequin like one label, and sometimes they'll use mannequin, but if you looked up mannequin, you might see something that's more like one of those plastic statue type things that you see in the department stores where they're displaying garments for sale. If you're going to look on Facebook Marketplace for a dress form / mannequin and you're seeing something that's a hard plastic shape of a body, that is not what you want for your sewing. A dress form is an body shape that is pinnable, is pinnable. You've seen Project Runway, you've seen everybody doing all sorts of things to dress forms. This was a clothing store where it was going out of business and everything was on sale. So this is, I would guess, technically a mannequin, but it is pinnable, so I keep it around. Right now, this is a garment that I've made another video about. It's on timeout. I really do want to finish it, but it's got a significant problem. Here I have all the pattern instructions in an envelope. I discovered a little too late that I'm missing a pattern piece. But I'm going to decide some kind of cool design element to construct that back yoke, the missing yoke. In the meanwhile, she stays here outside. She is not exactly my measurements, so I can't use her to fit or drape precisely. But it's good enough to hold the garment, and I can get an idea of how it looks as I'm creating it. And I can take pictures on this one if I'm going to display my finished product. This beauty was at a garage sale of all places. I mean, it's just exquisite. And it's holding on to a work in progress as well. Technically not a work in progress. She's pinnable. She's close in some places to my measurements, and an example of the waist, nowhere near close to my measurements, but she's gorgeous and I just had to grab it. It's such a beautiful dress form. When she's not working in the studio, I actually keep her on display as decoration in my guest room. For now, she's helping me check out a circle skirt I made some years ago, but this waistline is way too small for me, and I need to make some adjustments if I'm ever going to wear this again. I was thinking of just gifting it, but I'm going to try to make it mine again. I'm going to follow an instruction by Sew Anastasia, and I'm going to modify the zipper here. I'm going to take the waistband off. I'm going to try the instructions she provides to modify the zipper here to change where the waist is. to where my actual waist is now, which will mean this skirt will be shorter, and I'm okay with that. And I'm going to put a grosgrain ribbon on and make a really cool belt-like waistband. Won't that look really awesome? And because honestly, I don't trust myself with white like this, get a big coffee stain or something on it, I'm going to make a replica, an overskirt of the circle skirt in this black lace. Won't that look awesome? And isn't she a great help as I formulate my ideas for this new skirt? So if I can get that done before the holiday season, I'll be really happy. You'll see. In the meantime, she as well. These two gals sit in the corner and remind me of things that I've left undone. Why do we start sewing? A lot of the times is because we might not be able to find clothing that fits us very well in ready-to-wear clothes, or we might have ideas of creating our own fabric and we don't really see them out there in the stores, or where we see them it's too expensive and we want to try to create something that looks like the designer clothing but is on a more affordable budget. Any number of reasons why we want to sew. Now let's talk about why it's so important to have a dress form that's really as close as possible to your actual shape. And we're going to get into a couple of kind of deep concepts while we talk about this. So if you don't have a dress form that is your specific shape, you're not really able to test out a pattern piece or drape fabric over the dress form and know how it's going to fit your body. The humbling thing about that is you have to be comfortable in actually accepting the shape of your own body. And I put off dealing with this for a number of years in the past, let's say 4 or 5 years. The time has come. So you can get dress forms from a lot of different companies, and some have dials on them strategically where you can adjust the size of the dress form. That's what's underneath this right now. It worked for me for a while. There are some cons to this type of dress form. The first con is when you are turning these dials, it's a hard plastic shell that is then opening up. So you've got empty space and then these hard shells with just a tiny bit of fabric that's on top of it. It's only pinnable where the pieces of fabric are, and it's obviously not pinnable any place where you've opened it up because you can't pin air. As time went on, I noticed my dress form was expanding and expanding, and I had more and more air until I'd maxed out certain areas of the dress form, and it still wasn't quite to my shape. I started to research how to pad your dress form quite a while ago, but I was a little humbled and intimidated by doing it. I wasn't yet ready to accept that after having kids and getting over 50, my belly kind of had a little roundness here that I kept thinking I could exercise away, but you know what? It wasn't changing. I could not pin so many parts of it that it limited me into what I could do on the actual dress form. So I got to a stage in life recently where I said, you know what? This is the shape I'm gonna have. I need to get a dress form that replicates my body precisely. I want to be able to fit patterns on the dress form, and I want to learn more about draping. And if I'm gonna do that, I need to be able to pin all of the dress form. So I had two choices: go and purchase an entirely new dress form or reconfigure the one I had. If money wasn't the object, I would probably be going out and buying a new dress form with the new knowledge I have now. That brings me to explain to you the types of dress forms that are out there. The quickest one is to make one out of duct tape, which you've probably seen those videos. It's as simple as wearing a tight t-shirt and wrapping yourself up in duct tape with the help of a friend, of course. I did this for my daughter as she was growing, and I knew she'd be a new size in 6 months to a year. I wouldn't do it for myself. I find that when you pin a duct tape dress form, those are sacrifice pins. You can't use them again with anything else. I found that just too annoying to create a full body dress form for myself. I've never tried the paper mache dress forms because I've heard too many horror stories of being covered in paper mache and that just wouldn't dry all day, and I think that would just produce such anxiety with me that I don't even want to go there. The next dress forms you could try are these dress forms that are adjustable. Sometimes they can be in a great price point, and they're not all bad. They have some good merits. But at this point, I'm going to say that if you think you can afford a dress form that is fully pinnable and is as close to your measurements as possible, that's the one you should go for. That's what I would go for if I was doing it all over again with the knowledge that I have now. Having said that, every dress form is most likely going to need some modifications to your body. The only exception to that I can think of are the dress forms that take a 3D scan of your body and you send that to them and they create an actual replica of your body. They're incredible. I've seen great reviews. They sound like an amazing company. I have 2 issues with it for my own personal consideration. 1, they're not within my budget. 2, I'm really just not sure that that shape is going to be my shape in 5 years from now, and especially considering the cost, I'm not sure I want to spend that kind of money on something that I might need to change. So we're back to, you're going to get some type of dress form as close as you can get to your shape, and now you still have to modify it in some way. So I took a lot of padding, I took some foam, I opened up the dress form in some places and closed it up in others. I tried to cover, tape, bandage, all sorts of things on the inside to cover any empty spaces where there was open air, to pad her out and fill her out in places where I am a little softer and squishier. And then I went to the Bootstrap Fashion website where I completed their chart of measurements and body profile, and they sent me a PDF of the pattern. So the cover covers up all of the cushioning and padding underneath, and I have to say it's been a bit of a reckoning, but when I cross-reference my measurements with the measurements of this dress form, they're nearly identical. They're really great. The only place where this dress form is not probably identical is the shoulders here are probably a bit wider, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about that unless I'm going to saw off these shoulders, which I'm not. This dress form cover was really easy to create. Shout out to Bootstrap Fashions for their customer service because I was confused a couple times and they were really helpful. They have an instructional video. Instructions were fairly clear. This was the first time I've sewn cups like this, so I didn't do the best job. I was a little frustrated with myself. Having said that, the measurements line up, so even though aesthetically it's not exactly perfect, neither am I. In summary, this girl and I are going to have a lot of work to do now with some draping and fitting, and I'm really excited to start pinning my pattern pieces on. And I'm really grateful to these gals back here who helped me out in holding my thought in place. I'm so happy with this dress form cover that I've got it in my head. I now want to make the full dress form from Bootstrap Fashion. That's probably going to be next summer's big project. And if you've got a dress form that you want to pad out to be closer to your shape or the shape of someone you sew for, get a cover from Bootstrap Fashions to make it look beautiful and you'll be set.